Good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, February 15th, 2018, the day after Valentine's Day. You know what that means? That means a lot of you either broke up with someone yesterday or had a very cool day. Which one
or
is
got
it?
engaged. A lot of people got engaged.
I think that's lame.
I know. Me too. I agree.
Not getting engaged on Valentine's Day, just getting engaged in general. Nah, I'm just kidding. Yeah, do something different. I am Goes. That's Danny Olkers. Dan Tom's moving the camera right now. Our MMA Junkie Radio site coordinator, Randy, is in the house.
Pew, pew, pew.
Good job, Danny. One day,
Randy.
I'm
Pew,
going to
pew,
figure
pew,
it out
pew.
what the hell that means. And I know it's going to be stupid. You know, Danny, let me ask you this. If I watch your stupid show, what's it called?
Popping off.
Not that one, stupid. Rick and Morty.
You said if I watched your stupid show.
The one you're always talking about.
I have one show that is mine.
Man, you just kind of jacked yourself up pretty good. I
Ghost
could never
terminology.
outbag you now. You just, destroyed yourself.
In Ghost terminology, that made complete sense.
Alright, well, is it Rick and Morty? If I were to watch every Rick and Morty episode, would I know what this means now?
Nope.
Fuck. What is it? For
You
those
don't
people
wanna
that we're
know.
talking about, every day when Randy is in studio, if I say Randy is in studio, Danny will say, go ahead.
Randy. Pew, pew, pew.
And I don't know what that means. Randy doesn't know what that means. But we want to find out organically. We don't want to Google it, or we don't want a junkie to tell us, oh, it's from this. We want to figure out where the hell it's from. And this has been going on for at least 2 years.
Yeah. But here's the thing, you've said it many times. You don't want to know.
I want to know. I want to find out, but I don't want somebody to tell me.
I just picture Aziz Ansari. You know, that's my theory. Just that sounds like his cadence is that. Randy.
You just don't want to. You just don't want to know. No, you don't want to know, because when you know, it'll ruin it, and it won't be magical anymore. You don't need to know.
Don't tell me, baby girl, because I don't need to know.
You don't
I need to know. Oh my goodness, what did you?
So anyone out there in Junkie Nation that does happen to know, don't tell Goes where it's from, because it'll ruin it for him. Because right now, it's something special for Randy and Goes.
Yeah, a little
it's so
bit.
much better.
Gorgeous George is in the house.
We're up in less than a minute.
Why did they switch from the Olympics to horse racing?
Horse racing.
Coming up in 30.
And why? Can Jimmy West climb into the thing there? Why is that up there but no person is in it? Scaffold or whatever.
A person.
Good one, Fardo.
Beat it, nerd. I'm still waiting on that T-shirt.
Which, for Michael Chandler to make
Beat it, nerd. Yeah, coming up, stand by.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position, because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goz.
I'm George, that's Goz, that's Dan. Danny's in New York. What's up, guys?
Ooh, that was tough.
How come Randy ain't smiling? I've looked over there like 3 times and he just keeps like mad dogging.
Randy's got one of the best laughs ever.
Randy, the site coordinator, is in town. He raises the level of my happiness, you know that?
It might be my favorite.
It's infectious.
Laugh. Yeah.
Randy's?
Yeah, his laugh was hilarious.
When he really cracks up?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Because that's how you, it's a very genuine laugh.
I heard Danny on his show yesterday. When he gets going, he has a good laugh too.
Does he?
Yeah, he just doesn't do it on our show. He only gives us like 60%, but he's fucking going like 110 on his show. So we got to get it out of him because he's got a nice little cackle going over there.
He just
him and the Carla Duran
himself.
Look-alike co-host that he's got. She's a cutie. And then some knucklehead that won't shut up. I think he's on the West Coast. But it's popping off, right, Danny? Did I get that right?
He's always surprised when they go to him. Hey, Pete,
yeah,
what do you think?
Right.
And he makes
surprise? Fuck, he's always they're always coming to him.
Oh, man. Hey,
I want to stun gun him on a Thursday.
He just he destroyed himself in the pre-show.
Danny?
Yeah, every day when Randy is here,
yeah.
If I go, hey, Randy's here, Danny will go, Randy, pew, pew, pew. I don't know what that means. Dan Tom doesn't know what that means. Randy doesn't know what it means. But he says it from like something, a TV show, a movie. But we don't want to know. We want to organically figure it out.
I don't know much about pop culture goes, but you know what it sounds like to me? South Park.
Danny?
Nope.
No?
No? Okay.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, we want to find out organically. And so anyways, I asked, there's a show that Danny watches. And I thought maybe it's that dumb show that he's always trying to get me to watch. So I go, hey, Danny, what's that dumb show? Well, what did I say? What's that dumb show you like? Or like, what's your dumb show?
What's your dumb show?
Yeah, I go, hey, what's your dumb show again? He goes, popping off. And I meant, it's Rick and Morty, right? Is the name of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I meant that. He just destroyed himself, and I lost it in the pre-show because I couldn't stop laughing. He must have thought, like, this asshole's really making me... He's calling my show
What's
dumb.
Dan doing? Is he on Tinder or what? I see a lot of swiping going on.
I wish.
When he said that,
are you awake, Dan?
Dan had the biggest smile on his face, and he was swiping.
Yeah. No, every time in the first couple minutes of the show, it's just kind of my busiest when I'm having to get everything up on multiple accounts.
Okay. You're just checking to see if everything's flowing?
Yep.
Right,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Every
grinding?
day, it's always the first 3 minutes. It's you'll see me frequently going between my phone and 2 computers. It's good times.
All right. What brings Randy to town? The fights are in Austin, not Vegas. Oh, he's got the lady, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back, Randy. Good to see you. All right. So on today's show, we have Bryan Caraway. Oh wait, he's not here. Where's that fool at?
I don't know.
I mean, God damn it. This may not be one. This hopefully isn't one of those where it comes back to haunt me. But I booked it so far in advance.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people wonder, hey, how come you don't book the whole week? I always tell them, well, we kind of go 24, 36, 48 hours with about 24 actually being the sweet spot. Sometimes when you work with professionals like Ed Cap, for example, you could do that 3 days in advance. And his guys and gals will be there on time. Bellator is pretty solid. They call in with their guys. But, other times it's just like, oh, I forgot. And, oh, you meant Mountain? Oh, wait, Eastern? Oh, I'm in Tunisia? It's like...
Somebody was in Tunisia?
But Caraway's the one that went out of his way. No, I'm just making shit up. Caraway's the one that went out of his way to say, I want to be there all 2 hours. Because I told him, I go, hey, you got that fight, dude. You're fighting at UFC 222. And we're weeks away. So I can understand if it's just a 30-minute, spot or an hour. And he goes, nah, man. He goes, I roll with 2, And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, all right, set. It's set then. And it was for today. And then I gave him the reminder. And nothing. I mean, I'm not checking it while I'm driving in.
Do you want me to send him something?
There's nothing to send. I mean, I gave him the reminder, and he either shows or he doesn't. Well, look, it's one of those fucking things. All you motherfuckers that don't have Apple, see there? Because of my iMessages, I don't know if it went all the way through. See the green thing, how it stopped right there? So I'm hoping it did. Let me check my phone. See if it did. If it went
I'm just going to send him a, where you at, partner?
It looks like on my phone it went through. It just didn't on my computer. Maybe my computer's reacting to, the new servers and everything. If you have Apple products, you can text out of your computer, and it's the most convenient thing ever. It's probably one of their best inventions. It's called iMessage. You can definitely type faster than you know, hit the numbers on your phone. And what happened?
What Apple sent.
Where you at, partner? What happened? Palada? What'd you call it? What pilot?
It says where you at? Pinata.
Oh
man, that's racist, Apple.
Stupid Apple.
Well, but it's at Caraway. If he had said it towards Ferguson or something, well, even that's more of a white name. But Melendez,
Diego Sanchez.
He'd be going, man, I'm canceling now. Coming at me like that. But let's see what happens.
I was thinking more like a fighter might take it as like, what is my defense suck? Like, why am I the pinata?
Oh, the human pinata. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll also talk to Jared Gordon. He's fighting at UFC Fight Night 126 in Austin, Texas. See what's going on with him. 14-1 overall, 2-0 in the UFC, 5-fight win streak, and you know, can't argue with that. With that start to a career in the UFC, now outside the UFC, even captured a belt over at CFFC. We'll see what's going down with him. Might have one more guest too. We kind of already agreed to do the show. It's just a matter of locking in times and who knows what. But Gordon faces Ferreira on Sunday's card, and Caraway faces Cody Stamann on the March 3rd card. Caraway, you know, he's been ranked for a long time. Caraway's working off of a 2-fight win streak, Aljamain Sterling and Eddie Wineland. He dropped the fight to Rafael Sunsao, who's been a top 5 guy for a long time, so he didn't take too much of a hit there. But then before that, he beat Eric Perez, Johnny Bedford, Mitch Gagnon, Dustin Neese, Martin Weichel. Sandwiched in there was a controversial loss to Takeya Mizugaki. Now, that would be more impressive if it was 2014. A lot of those names have just drifted away, and so his run isn't really as nice as a run could be, and that's because Caraway has suffered some injuries, so he hasn't fought as frequently to support being 4-1 in your last 5, a 2-fight win streak. He needs to really, I think, just give us like 3 in 1 year. Or well, like I always say, give us 3 1 year and 2 the next. 3 the following year, 2 the next. 5 fights over 2 years, I think, is a good schedule. Some guys peel off, like Tyron Woodley had 4 fights in 10 months. Right now he's catching a lot of flack because he hasn't fought since beating Damian Maia in July of 2017. But prior to that, he had a busy schedule, and he tore his labrum, for crying out loud. Now, other stuff, some people aren't giving Woodley a pass on, but you know that's a whole other story that we can or can't get into, whatever you guys want. I think I've already shared my frustrations with that champion, but he's a good guy. I just think he tries too much to talk, you know, appeal to everybody, and I think he just has to embrace that there's a legion of people that aren't gonna like him.
Can you hit the reset button in MMA, personality-wise?
With Woodley?
With anyone?
Yeah.
If Conor McGregor today decided to just kind of be a nice guy, could he do it? If George St. Pierre just decided to be a heel, could he do it? Is there a reset button in mixed martial arts?
I think so.
Think so?
Yeah. Now, you're going to get people,
so.
But you have to not pay attention to social media. You have to get away from social media, and then when you come back, just be who you are. And I'll give you an example. When Ronda lost to Cyborg, yeah, she had a lot of people that liked her, but remember, she was working off the no handshake to Misha, the win over Betch. You know, so there were certain parts of the world she was beloved, and there was other parts where she was hated.
What are you talking about? You said when she lost to Cyborg.
When she lost to Holly Holm, sorry.
Holly?
Yeah, then she took all that time off, and a lot of people went from like, yeah, fuck you, that's what you get, you know, and they were cashing in all their tickets for not shaking Misha's hand, for acting like a bitch on the show, for, you know, thinking you're all that, you know, or whatever. She, you know, everybody cashed their tickets in. Then she went away, and when she came back just slightly over 1 year later, I thought a lot of people were really into her. She came back, and that's because she stayed quiet, which was maybe her version of eating crow or humble pie or whatever. So I think it can happen, but you have to stay away from social media, and then when you come back, you also have to stay away again because you're going to have you're a faker, quit acting, you know, the way you are, and go stay to your roots, all that shit. But again, it's just those are basically like mostly of every 100 people that do that, 90 are losers and 10 are just pretending to be. Those 10 are just playing along because it's fun for them, you know. I do it sometimes, but the rest are just honest losers that just don't fucking get life, honestly. And so that's why it's not worth it to sift through the quality posts, even the ones that you can tell are messing that might give you a wink or maybe you recognize their name and know that most of the time it's constructive or friendly, crossfire. And so it becomes a waste of your time.
What do you think of that strategy? Because that's something that I think Floyd Mayweather did for a long time. Floyd doesn't post, he doesn't tweet that often. But when he does, people flip out, right? Conor McGregor started to adopt that a little bit, where he doesn't post too often, but when he does, people freak out. And Ronda kind of does something similar, right? What do you think of that versus maybe like a Tyron Woodley who's constantly tweeting stuff? Or
well, I think you have to reach a certain status to just go 3 months without a tweet and then come back and have millions of replies. And Tyron isn't at that level. He likes to engage. The problem is he likes to engage everybody. And he also says a lot of things. And so I will give some of those geeks some credit in that they're very smart, have long memories, and they'll come back and say, well, wait a minute, hold on a second. Back in 2015, you said you should be champ or a contender because you earned the right, and then they'll go, so why aren't you giving it to Covington? Because now you're saying, oh, Covington's not a money fight. Oh, well, it didn't apply to you. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people call you on that bullshit. That's what kind of makes Twitter fun at times. It happens to Dana White all the time. So, but I think Dana White's so secure in his $500,000 that I bet you there's times when he goes, yeah, I did say that, didn't I? But who cares? He's Dana White, he's driving a Ferrari, runs a whole fucking sport, and that's that. But others could all of a sudden take a tumble with a loss or two, and their lives aren't the same.
Yeah.
How you been, Dan?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Am I talking too much?
No. I'm following along. I just think Woodley would be better off using that kind of analytical mind instead of going, to town with everybody like you said, George, and maybe just, using it more for, when we see him use it, obviously in the ring, he's one of the best fighters in the world, obviously, but even I like him as this analyst role on the desk. I think he's killing it as that role,
I do too.
Bringing his smarts and applying it that way. So, kind of like, the advice, you see floating around the internet toward Woodley is, maybe manage your energy a little better, regardless of who's right or wrong or what the situation is. Because, like you said, you can kind of go for days, kind of going down that road, and kind of how you play it. Kind of like, you talk about Rousey and being a sore loser. I like what you did yesterday with Bilal, where not only did we have a great interview with him, in case anybody missed that show, but you kind of called him out a little bit there, and he had a great sense of humor about it too. But you called him out and said, hey, are you a little bit of a sore loser there after you picking up on some of the stories and the themes, and it was good, and of course Bilal, react to it great and whatnot. And maybe that was some of the criticism of Rousey. If she would have just had some of those moments where she could just laugh at herself and take a moment to acknowledge it, it can go a long way. So I think the lessons are out there that you guys pointed out, right? It's just where's he going to put his energy, guys like Woodley or whoever.
Woodley has the ultimate scoreboard, and he's a champion, a defending champion, and he's starting to not break records, but just compile a resume. And along the way, maybe possibly break records one day. I mean, GSP's put it out there. You got to defend 9 times to break his. But either way, Yoel Romero hasn't become a champion nor defended, obviously. But you put like we did the other day, you can put his resume almost against anyone, even the great Anderson Silva, as far as who they've beaten. So, I would just say hang back. I think he's done a lot. Hang back. There's no reason to be mixing it up with some kid from Albuquerque or some dude in Buffalo or some moron in Russia. I don't know. There's really no reason to, so, and what that requires was, if you can't help yourself, then you better not look at Twitter all the time.
Yeah.
Like, DC stuck up for Luke. Did you guys see that? Alex Gustafsson said, hey, DC, I want to fight you. You're holding up the division. I'm paraphrasing here, but he said that. But in the meantime, Luke Rockhold, you seem anxious to come up to 205. I'll knock you out. That'll keep me warm. All right, cool. Trash talk, I like it.
A little bit out of Alex's box lately.
A little
right?
bit, yeah. Now, one thing is, so as that said, raise your hand if you liked it. Shit, yeah. I was hoping you two did.
Well,
because you're kind of not too much on that side of trash talk, right?
I mean, I don't like to point myself or anybody for that matter with a broad black and white, and especially because something like this, because the division needs it. But I mean, go ahead. I don't want to.
Did you love it?
S on your point.
Keep your hand up if you loved it.
No.
See, like two. Oh, okay. So only one of us. So you start to break apart as to what happened.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing happened with the comment. Now, some would say, "Hey, man, that's a little too soon. Luke just got knocked out. Leave the guy alone." You know, I would probably agree with that. So a second ago, I'm into the trash talk, but then I'd probably go, "Yeah, that was too soon. Maybe wait a bit." I mean, he's taking that loss hard. Others might go, "No, fuck it, man. This is fighting." Spit and shit hanging out of their mouths. This is fighting. Fuck Luke. Luke was talking shit too. That's true. I guess if we dig enough and go, "Oh shit, Luke did come at Alex back in 2000." I don't know. You know, it doesn't interest me that much. So that's where things start to divide a little bit and go into different directions. Now, DC came back and said something along the lines of, or rather than Luke go up, he can just fight Whitaker. He goes, because coming off a loss, apparently people get shots at a title. Right, Gusti? And apparently,
good comeback.
Gustafsson did that. I didn't look it up, but it sounded like he did. Can we look it up? Gustafsson? Let me look it up and see.
But it's a good comeback. But see, here's what you have to look at. Is what Gustafsson's doing, I don't take it as a shot towards Luke. I take it as he's trying to get under Daniel's skin. Okay?
Well, that's one thing DC did say. He goes, "Oh, yeah, just kick a man while he's down, huh?" And then that's when he proceeded to say the rest. Did Gustafsson get a shot off a loss?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, he did. And lost Anthony Johnson.
Oh, we lost Anthony Johnson. Yeah, fucked up by Anthony Johnson. Why did he get a shot at Cormier?
I think it just had to do with timing.
You know what it had to do with? Because Bader and Davis and all those guys were allowed to move to Bellator.
That wasn't the year.
And they just, the shelves are, well, that was back in 2015. Had they moved by then? I don't know. But, okay, if they didn't do that, they didn't do a good job of stacking 205 up a little bit. And then it makes it even more glaring that they let those guys go, knowing things like this were happening. So that was the shot. And a lot of people were like, "Ooh, get him, DC." And then others started going, "Hey, DC, what about you when you won a title?" And DC had to point out, well, I was given the title because the guy that beat me disqualified himself because of these anti-doping violations and allegations. So it was fun. It was fun to kind of read it and going back and forth. So, again, it just starts to split into how heavy you want to get into it. Mm-hmm. Same thing with gun control. Our deepest thoughts to everybody that's afflicted by this, and I think it's called Parkland, Florida, Lake Parkland, Florida. If you haven't heard by now, I don't know where you live, but 17 people died in another mass shooting, which, by the way, is the 18th, I believe, in 2018. They're averaging like one every 3 days.
What?
We got a problem. Yeah, in 2018.
Wow.
We got a problem with these. Now, not all of them were at 17, but losing one life is sad. You know, and these were high school kids, if I'm not mistaken. But I heard that this year's just off to a rough start. So, again, if you start the gun control talk, it'll go into different directions. And, you know, and it's all how much you want to get into it. I actually stepped my toe into a little discussion, and two Rambos were coming at me. I'm keeping my guns, and I'm like, all right, you know, I mean, but
yeah,
you know, all I asked was, what's your solution? Is what I want to know. And I don't know. I don't know. I can get into it. But I don't really.
I just feel like very few. I think when it comes to guns, politics, religion, very few people are ever going to change their opinion very much. So when you have that discussion, it's more people waiting to speak than it is people listening to each other.
All right, so you can decline if you want, but I want to ask you, what's your solution to these mass shootings? But if you don't want to get into it, I'll respect that and say, very well, and move on to Dan.
Look, I kind of don't want to get into it, but I'll just make it very brief. I would just prefer that people just say, guns are cool and I really like them, and I'm used to having them, and it sucks that they're taking them away. I just don't like the argument of, well, what if the government has an uprising? Because
I agree with you.
Your gun is not going to stop a tank. We're past that. You're not going to stop an F-22 Raptor. They can basically do what they want at this point. Just be honest with me. If you just really like them, you know, like if they said, we're going to take away porn, there's going to be people that go, fuck, I really like porn. I probably shouldn't be doing it, but I like it. All right, cool. But don't give me a bullshit reason.
All of them, or at least the automatic ones?
At least the automatics, at least. I think maybe like for protection for home, maybe handguns. But I'm also not very educated on guns, like a lot of people. But I just don't see the need for some of these big weapons.
Yeah. Dan, I'll let you think about it. I'll go next. I'll just say that about 3 years ago when we had some pretty bad ones, a lot of our listeners actually educated me. Others from other countries that just don't seem to have that problem. And their statistics bear the fact that they have really strict gun laws, or some just don't allow them at all. Now, I already know that some of you are going to go, well, in Chicago they don't have guns. They have strict gun laws, and look what Mexico also doesn't allow guns, and it's the fucking wild. I know that. So we're not saying it works in every country, but apparently it works in a lot of countries. Lucas from New Zealand has gone so far as to tell me the cops don't even use guns there.
Mm-hmm. It's in England.
Howie
too, right?
in Austria was telling me that in Austria and Germany, it's just not a problem. I think Austria had some guy in a car that killed some people. And England doesn't allow them as well. I don't know which countries do and don't. I know Mexico doesn't, but they're there.
I mean, you're always going to find a way to hurt someone if you want.
Correct.
But I would rather that guy have a knife and me know that I could run away at least and not get capped. I mean, it's just makes it harder, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I say take steps because I know it's going to be very hard to have everyone just turn in the guns. That's not even realistic. Mm-hmm. I also believe that whatever we decide now, let's say we were the panel, and Trump said it's done. It's going to take about 10 to 25 years, maybe even 50, to actually become like what Australia is, for example. And so I realized that I'm at a sacrifice where if I was a gun owner, then I would deplete my chances of protecting myself because we're basically martyrs for the future generation. But to tell you the truth, I would do it because in history, a lot of people did a lot of stuff for us. You know what I mean? And so therefore, I would do it. But it's easy to say because I'm not a gun owner. For someone that's a gun owner, it may not be easy to say. But
I like shooting them. I'm not against them. Like I have fun when I shoot guns.
So I say let's come up with at least taking automatic ones off. I don't think someone needs one of those, and keeping the handguns and working towards that, and maybe another generation can take other steps. But did you see those videos of those kids fearing for their lives? Look, I'm 48,
You're supposed to
and
feel
if someone
safe when
comes
you
in
send
and
them to
goes,
school.
"Your time's up," at least I lived to 48. Hopefully, my brother will be sad. My parents who are here will be sad. But he lived to be 40. I mean, some of these kids are like 13. They didn't even get a chance to live. What the fuck is that? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that saddens me. And these are kids in Florida that I don't even know. Now, we had the incident here in Vegas. Some people that I kind of knew through Facebook. One guy that worked here, I can speak on him and what it did for him. He still hasn't returned to work, by the way. He's healthy, but it takes a while. You know? And so I just think it's terrible, man. And so I would like to know if anyone wants to discuss it ever on Facebook, just tell me at least what your solution is. Don't fucking argue with others. Just give the solution and accept what other solutions are, and let's see if we can have a conversation, which is what I had with some lady named Yolanda on someone else's thread. And like I said, 2 Rambos came in, so I was firing back, but I just told them, hey, you guys go play airsoft and paintball. I'm sure your tournament's starting soon. I got a show to host, and I'll just either keep discussing with Yolanda or the smarter junkies that I know, even the ones that are on the other side, But I think that's what it takes is discussion. She saw my points, I saw hers. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that I think a lot of points to unpack. And
Are you going to do it in outline form?
I'll try not to be. Well, part of the reason is because you guys be talking, so I'll be like, ooh, here's a point, and then I'll be, oh, okay, well, I got to put that in the queue
take your
here
time because Brian's not here. Right now, we'd be asking Brian about his preparations for Cody Stamen, and he's not helping. So.
Anyways, I don't try to be the outline, but usually by the end, there's been so many, the conversation has taken so many turns. I have so many points in the queue. I end up having to scrap about 60% of them. You guys get about what 40% is. But I'm just going to narrow it down to the key and core what you guys are saying. We need middle ground. Essentially middle ground. I know you guys, you paint me in the box of liking paint, and that's perfect explanation. I'm not taking offense to that, but I'm saying you paint me in that box. I'm going to return the favor for a second.
Are you a gun owner?
No. You guys are very much more red team versus blue team guys, and I'm not trying to paint you in that box. I actually second what I'm building on a point that Goes said, and I think that we all are inherently. That's why it sells. That's why the NFL is so great. That's why politics are so popular, right? It's red team versus blue team. That's the theme that translates no matter what you're into. And the reason why I try to be so over the top and so contrarian is because I just almost feel like you have to overcompensate for these things just from day-to-day life, and especially in important topics like this, where it's you want to go one side or the other. Goes is right. Most people are just trying to wait for their turn to talk, and they're not trying to find any middle ground, you know. Like, for example, you guys suggested something, by the way, I'm for whatever that's worth, you know, taking away automatic weapons. And it's tough because for whatever it's worth, I'm more of a civil liberties guy, you know. I'm more, you know, having your rights, whether it's guns, whatever, kind of a thing. I'm more on that side, but you can't deny that it's not so much that, oh, well, now we have social media. We didn't have that in the 90s. We didn't have that in the 80s. Oh, this stuff always happened. Now we just know. Well, the statistics are getting so ridiculous that it's actually pointing the other way, that it's almost hard to ignore. And as much as I want to say, yeah, you know what, there are responsible gun owners that I personally know, and I would like to think that certain people, if put in a position where they actually could do something, yeah, sure, I would like to believe they would. Sure, governments have done stuff in the past. Sure, I would like to think that, you know, having the right for a government uprising, sure. I'm not saying no, but how many times have any of those things come up? And with all these stories, what's even sadder, the fact that, aside from the fact that these things are happening, these shootings, is the fact that the more these shootings happen in succession, it only kind of takes away the argument. And again, not to get in the side versus side, because that's not my point here, believe me, but it takes the argument away from this other side of where, well, we got to keep guns to da-da-da-da. And the reason why I'm coming at that side, it's because I'm coming at, not that coming up that side, I'm coming at any side that halts the argument for making it better. It's not about what you believe. It's about what makes it better. And people have a hard time putting that aside, kind of what Ghost said. It's about our personal opinions as far as what's better, where people don't even bring up the mental health aspect, you know? One of the things, I haven't followed much. I didn't care to click on those videos personally, but one of the things I did see was all these students, because, again, they have ability to take to social media. The media is hungry to talk to them. It gets out there for whatever reason, but you're seeing an overwhelming amount of people going, this person was this person. He was, you know, all these stereotypes. He was the recluse. He mistreated and was physical with his girlfriend. He was white supremacist group. And we're focusing on that because we already have an agenda, whether it's against white supremacists, whether it's against men, and we want to point to those things and kind of posturize, and it's like, well, no shit, those are bad people, okay? Let's who cares? Let's look at the looping factor in here. You know, if we looked at mental health things more, whether you're like, oh, mental health's going to solve the gun problem. I'm not saying it is, but you know, that term, Joe Rogan often says that we have a gun problem disguised as a mental health problem disguised as a gun problem. I don't subscribe to that or any theory 100%, nor should you.
Can you repeat what he said, though?
We have a mental health problem disguised as a gun problem. And I'm not going to get into the specifics, but I believe there are statistics as far as, you know, you look at the trends of these people who have been committing these crimes and these looping factors and things that aren't being talked about. And you know, mental health just doesn't get talked about enough as it is. I mean, how many fighters and the things that they deal with that we would only know from these interviews that we have here on the show that you never know. Anyway, sorry for the long tangent, but yeah, essentially, you know, if we were thinking more middle ground instead of red team versus blue team, we would have things maybe, you know, give school counselors more of a role, have more, you know, kind of programs where you can spot if someone's having a bad time or this or that, whether you like the person or not. You know, you can notify somebody proper at the school, and they can, you know, pull that person aside, talk to them, help them. You know, not in a bad way, but you know, positive solutions. And you don't see any of that. All you see is postulating for, take away all the guns. No, I want my guns, and it's not even about that. It's about human life and quality of life at this point. So, all I ask you for whatever, either your personal job, Facebook or whatever, just whatever you're talking about, especially important issues like this, just try to keep an open mind and think for the better cause. Because I think too many times we're just thinking about our own kind of morals and sides. We lose track of what's best.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, we're 30 minutes in. We didn't spend the whole time. We spent a lot of time. And I know people are going to say, hey, this is an MMA show. But you know what? We're putting that to the side for right now because this is really, really important thing. This is a fucking life show today. We will talk to some MMA fighters. I think it's important, man, because any channel I changed it on had the same thing. And others people will say, now's the time to grieve. Now's not the time to talk about. When the fuck is the time to talk about if it ain't now? You know, once we were done grieving, I don't remember going, hey, you know, the grieving's done. Now we should talk about guns. No, because you know what? Yeah. We kind of forget about it. It's so simple to say, oh, our prayers and our thoughts and, you know, this and that. I still don't see solutions after all these years.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen nothing.
Yeah.
And so I like to go, well, where is it clicking everywhere else? And that's why, luckily, because of the junkies who have fed me facts about how their countries are, they don't wake up to this and see this. I'm thinking, well, wow, I wonder if we could do that, you know? And so you study, like Australia is a big country like ours, not as populated as we are, but still they were able to do it. It took a lot of years, but they don't have mass shootings, and if they, whatever problems that they do have, because there's always going to be bad guys, it's still not on the levels of what's happening here. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll bite the bullet if somebody scolds me afterwards, but I feel like we can contribute one way or another. People are listening in their cars right now. They're listening on iTunes, on social media, and like I said, talking, because there's going to come a time where things are going to get more serious. And I don't know what it's going to take, but hopefully we'll have a better preparation for that, for a solution.
Yeah, no.
Let's take a commercial. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Left, right. BA, start. You told me that code would get rid of them. Yeah, well, they're still here. Okay, but now they know I tried to kill them. Hold on, Mom. Here are George and Goes.
It's the Impossible Springsteen ticket, and we're giving them away to SiriusXM subscribers. SiriusXM's E Street Radio is filling all the seats for the March 14th performance of Springsteen on Broadway. Grand prize winners will get airfare, hotel, and tickets to this exclusive show. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Springsteen. No additional purchase is necessary. All right, so we just flat out haven't heard back from Bryan Caraway, which is unusual.
I should have fired a tweet or something yesterday.
He went out of his way to request to be on the show because he likes being on the show. It's been a while, and we enjoy having him. And I don't know, so he's a good guy. I'm gonna give him a pass. I mean, maybe just I don't know.
You ain't got a choice.
True. I mean, but the other day somebody told me, "Hey, yo, man, I owe you one." I'm like, "No, you owe us two." You know, so every once in a while, I'm kind of checking people. I realize that I could get dealt with, and usually whoever I'm checking is way tougher than I am. But yeah, I mean, fuck, you know, like we're not just a couple buffoons here sitting trying to make things happen. Sometimes a lot of what we do revolves around a certain guest. But I think we've had great credit with Bryan over the past, so that's why I'll give him that pass.
Last name start with the letter B?
No.
Huh.
All right. So, we'll just continue on here with the show, and if Bryan shows up, then great. You know, we'll talk to him. Love to talk to him. Jared Gordon will be our other guest. He's not coming until the second hour, however, and he's fighting Diego Ferreira at UFC Fight Night 126. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say about the shooting or the guns that you may have thought about in the last 5 minutes? Danny, that goes for you as well. And if not, we'll move on. And I sternly disagree with anyone that says now's not the time. Bullshit. Now is the time, man. I know we say ain't going to solve it, but I'd hopefully like to at least converse about it intelligently, and hopefully one day in our time we can come up with a solution, because that's horrific.
It ain't going to go away.
That is horrific. So, did you hear about the geography teacher that dove in front of some girl and saved her life?
No.
Saw some security.
So now that guy doesn't get to come home, you know, to his family. If he hadn't done that, she wouldn't be coming home to her family.
There's just, it ain't gonna change, so it has to be addressed. I agree with you, like with people saying now's not the time, and now's the perfect time.
866-522-2846. Danny, you have anything you want to share, or are you good with just producing today's show?
Well, I mean, it's really scary. Like, I don't really have anything to say specifically about what happened yesterday. I was watching some news stories. I know it kind of got reported right as we were ending the show yesterday, or right after we ended the show yesterday, and it was really scary. I going back a few years, I had some friends at Virginia Tech during that whole thing.
Oh, wow.
So that was really scary for me, because it was way more personal. Like, even just kind of like what you were saying, even though you personally don't know anybody at the school, and I didn't know anybody at the school shooting yesterday, it's still super like scary and kind of just really horrible to hear about. But it's it just keeps, the more it happens, and I hate to say it this way, the more it happens, the more it just becomes common. And that's I think the worst part about it is it shouldn't be something that's happening this often at all. But I as far as ways to talk about how to fix things or what needs to happen, I wouldn't even begin to know really what needs to be done, or even a conversation to start, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, folks, you can always contribute if you like. I think today we'll give you all the pass. Keep using the same word, but I think it applies. Maybe we'll keep it brief, but share your thoughts. Nothing wrong with it. It's not like we're going to do it every day. I think it's important. All right.
Want to go to the phone?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take some calls. 866-522-2846.
Go to the one below them.
What's up, Marco? How you doing?
Marco from Waco, ¿qué pasa, dudes?
What's up, man?
So I gotta put my 2 cents on this, man. So first of all, we didn't do anything after Sandy Hook, where 6-year-olds got shot, and then people start poisoning the well, calling it a conspiracy. I don't think anything is going to happen now. That said, very well know I got 16 years of service in the military. What is the common thing about the military? That everybody has seen the military is a trained person to use weapons, because that is the nature of the business. Even if you're a clerk, you know how to use an M16. But also, you're not authorized to freaking carry a weapon like freelancing all the time. Only authorized personnel are allowed to use weapons on post or on federal buildings. To get your weapon on the post, you have to go to a whole administrative process. You got to get your weapons out. You got to go to the armory. You got to sign it out. You got to take it to the range, do your training, come back, put it back in the armory, and then, you won't see that weapon for forever. You cannot carry a personal weapon on post. If the army, the military, man, there are trained people can show the little discipline, to put a little bit of restrictions on how to use a freaking gun, civilians should be able to do it too. All this crap of, I can get 20, 40 freaking AR-15s, take it to a hotel and start shooting people down the freaking a stadium. No, you shoot it, man. I mean, I'm sorry. At one point, we need to say, okay, take a deep breath and see what works and what doesn't. And not everybody should be able to have a freaking access to a semi-automatic rifle. Peace out.
Yeah, Marco.
You talk about mental issues. Joe Rogan had mentioned that too, and even within the military, right? There's been those type of incidents where somebody's lost it and taken out soldiers. So it's an argument where there's just so many good points and bad points, but it's just so difficult to find that middle ground.
I'm convinced too. I don't know to what level that guns can also contribute to someone's mental health or their being. I know buddies that when they got guns, when they came back, that's all they could talk about was 3 to 6 months, and then it kind of wore off, kind of like a long honeymoon phase. Yeah, man, so I went out shooting, and yeah, I turned in my Glock 16 for a 19, and I did this, I did that, and I shot here, and I shot there, and then you could just tell they started to change a little bit, all right? And then eventually it went away, and then it was either safely put in a safe, or it just didn't get talked about as much. I think it just went away. But for that one time, I think your superpowers maybe grow a little bit. But here's why I think it's important, because, and again, for you all responsible owners that have done this for years, and maybe it's gone passed on in generations, maybe it doesn't apply or whatever. But a lot of you, I think you are and aren't. And you fall into that category, because Go's actually told me about something a while back. If he wants to speak on it, great, but if not, I'll try and do as best I can. Sometimes you just have a fucking bad day, and you flip out. And some people will do it with their car. You know what I mean? Some people will get out and do it with their fists. But guess what? The one that's got it inside of his, what's it called?
Glove compartment?
Glove compartment or something like that. Guess where he's reaching? You know what I mean? And here's another thing. It's easy to talk tough, but if you ever see the movie Tombstone, I'll start there, and then I'll tell you how it applies in real life. He, holy cow, dude, I need help. The Wyatt brothers, Wyatt Earp.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He was a lawman, and he tells his brother, I only killed one person one time. He goes, but you don't ever want to have that feeling of taking a man's life away. Even though he was a lawman and the guy whose life he took away was a bad guy. All right? He tells, that's right, Lakers, baby. They got squashed yesterday by like 22. But, yeah, it's still Lakers, man. But I asked buddies of mine who became cops and are now PIs or are still cops, and they echo the same thing, man. It fucks with you mentally, psychologically. It takes a while to get over that. Some maybe don't get over it, and that's them doing their jobs. You know what I mean? So be a tough guy and think that you're protecting your family, and you are, or whatever. But don't think that it doesn't come with a bill to pay one way or another. And so
I co-sign with that, though. I mean, that I just said I was the guy that was drawing guns and and all that stuff, and going nuts with that. And I would fantasize, oh, I want to have this gun when I get older. Or even now, just joking, like if there's a zombie apocalypse, this is the guns I would have. Like I'm the dude that has those thoughts. I love the movies. I love all those aspects. I get it. I love guns. But even me, I co-sign with that, because the reason why I don't own a gun as a 32, going to be 33-year-old, despite having those habits as a kid, is because of what George just said. You never know and whatnot. And I may be a nice guy, but I also have that weird switch in me, which is probably why I competed in martial arts growing up as a kid. And I don't need to add any more weapons or any more possibilities to add those equations.
Yeah. Let's talk to Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's yo time.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's up?
Showtime.
Hey, man. Yeah, I try to stay off that gun topic, man. That's like race and politics, man. Always, when I see that post, I just get up off of it real quick. It's going to end up in an argument some kind of way. So I just had to keep that to myself.
Talk some MMA. What's up?
Yeah. Hey, man, I was sitting here looking at everybody's record, past fights and all that. And I was looking at Kobe. Everybody's, some people saying he should be next, but his resume is all right.
He's 8-1 in the division.
Who's to say he's a pay-per-view draw? But look at who he beat though. He hasn't done anything. He hadn't been through the murderer's row like a Woodley, beating Roddy, beating the #1 contender twice. He beat up an old Damian Maia that might have got old overnight, and then he beat up.
So he beat him up,
it
and
have
then
to be overnight.
The fight was 2 months apart. When he fought Maia and when Kobe fought Maia. So if in those 2 months you're saying he got old, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm just saying. But if you look at Kobe, he took some damage in that fight too. He was bleeding and banged up.
He dominated Maia, man.
Yeah, I know this y'all guy, George. So y'all gonna pretty much post for him, and I understand that. But he beat who's that? Dong Han Kim. He beat him. Brian Barberino, which is not a top-rated fighter. He beat Max Griffin, who was okay. It's not nothing spectacular. Looking at his record, he beat one guy in the top 10.
But you're comparing Tyron Woodley and what he did after the championship. Let's compare what he did to deserve the title, right? At some point, they gave Tyron Woodley the title when Tyron Woodley, before he became champ, he had beaten Kelvin Gastelum in a split decision. Dong Hyun Kim, that was a vicious win. And then he lost to Rory McDonald. But then he also beat Carlos Condit. And I'm on the side that he was already having a great day against Carlos Condit before Carlos Condit got hurt. So I definitely won't take that one away. He steamrolled Josh Koscheck. But then we can even go back to Jake Shields. If we go back to Jake Shields, that would be including, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights. He's 4-2. If you just want to go back 3 fights, he's 3-1. If you want me, I can do him the favor and say in his last 5 fights prior to, he was 5-1. But either way, he still had that one loss. You got to go 5 fights, 6 fights deep before you get to Colby's only loss, which was Warley Alves. And as far as who put him over, Dong Hyun Kim, that's the same guy that Woodley beat. And then he dominated Damian Maia, and Woodley beat Kelvin Gastelum in a split decision. So, if anything, he was coming off an even better win. Now, that said, I also remember he was scheduled to fight Johnny Hendricks, and Hendricks fucked up, and there was no fight, and that's why Tyron went a long time without having a fight. And so anybody that was ever coming at him, I was defending Woodley, going, hey, he showed up in Houston to fight. The other guy didn't. You can't take that away from him. So, like I say, it looks pretty comparable to me. If anything, it looks better.
Yeah, but you got to look at this, too. I'm looking at Kevin Gastelum. I'm looking at RDA. Looking at that. I'm looking at all those guys. I really think he should fight Gastelum.
Gastelum's been fighting at middleweight. He's supposedly headed towards welterweight, but he's been fighting at middleweight. And I don't know that he automatically goes back to a title shot without taking one welterweight fight and making the weight. Hang tight with us for a second. Let's take a break, and then when we come back, we'll finish the discussion. Okay. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
Start your day with SiriusXM. Enable the SiriusXM skill on your Amazon device, and then tell Alexa to set an alarm for your favorite channel. And you'll wake up to the sounds of SiriusXM. With SiriusXM and Alexa, you can get the latest sports news each morning without picking up your phone or turning on the TV. Let's continue on here with Showtime from Tennessee. It's still his time. What's up, Showtime? Show?
Time?
It's your time.
Yo.
Is he still there,
Sounds like
Danny?
he's on mute. No, he's definitely still there. It sounds like maybe he has his phone on mute.
Is that fat cheek syndrome?
Okay, well, we don't have Jared Gordon till about 15 minutes into the second hour, so I'm going to put him back on hold. And I'm going to throw out our question of the day that was on Twitter, just so that you guys can all discuss it. We'll take a look at what people are saying on the Facebook chat. We really wanted to discuss this, too, with Brian Caraway, but he's not here. So our three-man panel will definitely talk about it. But anyway, what we were saying was, things. There's a reason why Floyd Mayweather is in these cages and he's wearing these 4-ounce gloves, and he may have a fight here, he may have a fight there. But I'll tell you what, CM Punk is the favorite over Floyd Mayweather. Those odds were released, by the way, and without worrying about the odds, our question is, should he be? Yes or no? Simple, right?
Yeah.
CM Punk versus Floyd Mayweather. Forget about Mayweather and McGregor. Just CM Punk versus Floyd Mayweather. CM Punk is the favorite. Should he be? That's the question. We'll keep it simple. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. When we come back, we can take some calls regarding that. We'll share our thoughts. We'll see if Showtime wakes up. Hopefully the rig is not currently driving right now. Maybe it's pulled over. And we'll also be talking to Jared Gordon from the UFC Fight Night 126 card in Austin, Texas. He fights Diego Ferreira on Sunday. We'll be right back.
Informer, you know, say that I'm a snowman, I go blame. I like you boom boom down. Take the man that say that I'm a snowman, stand somewhere down the lane. I like you boom boom down. Informer, you know, say that I'm a snowman, I go blame. I like you boom boom down. Take the man that say that I'm a snowman, stand somewhere down the lane. I like you boom boom down. Please tell them I'm coming and they blow down my door. Rain it up all through my window, so they put me in the back the car at the station. From that point on, I reach my destination. Where the destination region out of east detention. Where I look down my pants, look up my bottom. So Informer, you know, say that I'm a snowman, I go blame. I like it boom boom down. Take the man that say that I'm a snowman, stand somewhere down the lane. I like it boom boom down. Informer, you know, say that I'm a snowman, I go blame. I like it boom boom down. Take the man that say that I'm a snowman, stand somewhere down the lane.
This is cool even say. You remember this from the 90s?
I do, yeah.
It kind of looks like Void, I think.
It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Here we go. We'll try one more time with Showtime from Tennessee. Beloved friend of the show. What's up, Showtime? It's Yo time again.
Man, I can't believe what I'm hearing, man. How you gonna pick CM Punk? This guy's a play fighter, man. I got in an argument with somebody the other day. Well, not an argument. Man, check this out, man. I'm 43 years old, man. I'll drop down to 170 and fight CM Punk. Man, no real fighter. CM Punk won't beat. He won't beat any real fighter. Check this out. With the injuries that my goddamn Tom got, he'll slaughter CM Punk. He'll choke his ass out. And I told you know what? I told somebody right now at my age, the age I am right now, I'll body slam CM Punk ass. He's not even a real fighter, man. It's just crazy, man. This guy is a play fighter. I understand you got to have a little athletic ability to be a wrestler. I'm not naive to say that. But the man is 39 years old. He's not a real fighter. I'll get in the gym 6 months. I train a little BJJ myself. I know he's at a big camp. You bring me out there to Vegas, let me train 6 months, I'll slaughter CM Punk. I'll throw him out the octagon.
All right.
Yeah.
Kind of sold me. I think I'd buy it.
On that, man.
Me too.
Hey, just to finish out Woodley talk, who do you want Woodley to face next?
Hey, I don't know. You know what, man? You guys got a good argument. My guy Galley had just messaged me, man. I was sitting there looking at everybody else's record, and kind of by default, you probably got to give Kobe the chance because I was looking at RDA. I was looking at you can't give. I mean, you probably got to give it to him. I mean, to be honest with what he's done.
I will say this. I will say this. RDA is 3-0 since moving up. He's a former champion. Respect. The guys have beaten are pretty tough fighters. 2 were former champions. Safadine in Strikeforce, Lawler in the UFC. So those are nice, high-profile wins. Him at 3-0, imagine that. He's in the same talk as Colby, who's 8-1. I think Colby's like 14-1 overall, but 8-1 in the UFC. But yet those 3 wins had that much of an impact. It's like a 2-horse race. What I told Tyron on the show was, I told him, I go, you know what? I go, the part where we're confused is you want a fight that's going to pay you as much as possible, but I would argue that Colby would pay him more just because of the beef they have. And Colby's doing all the heavy lifting over there, so maybe embrace it. But I also looked at RDA, and he does have his fair share of followers on social media. Now he's getting a little bit more active, so maybe he's closed the gap. I don't know.
Tough would have turned the corner, though. If they would have been coaches on Tough, with the amount of smack talk that they talk,
went
you're
good.
right. It would have sold a lot.
Colby would have done good on Tough, and I think that one could have been a huge fight. Now, I understand Woodley's point. He wants McGregor, GSP, or a Diaz brother because those will obviously pay more. He's also gone out of his way to say, I haven't turned down RDA or Colby. So until the UFC goes, hey, man, it's a welterweight who deserves it, he's going to go out there and explore the biggest prizes out there because he's a prize fighter. That I can understand. But he has to understand that what he said in the past doesn't fall in sync with what he's saying now. And that's why fans have a beef with him just kind of being all over the place. But in the end, I think it'll probably be RDA. At least that's the way it's sounding like to me. And Colby would be smart to get on the same card against another welterweight. That way he's ready to step in if RDA can't make it to the dance. That way he's ready to step in if Woodley can't make it to the dance. And if everyone comes out of it healthy and he wins, then he's in the same timeline as the champion.
Another thing Colby has in his favor
Thanks for the
is
call,
all
Showtime.
the Brazilian bashing. If RDA wins the belt, right away there's heat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what he needs to do is get on the same card as Tyron Woodley. All right, so as you saw yesterday, we kind of had our first version of the daily debate. And what we're doing is we're putting up a Twitter poll on our main account of MMA Junkie and just kind of lobbing a question your way because you guys are some of the smartest fans out there. You're Junkie Nation. You guys consume all the news. You listen to the shows and you watch all the fights. So what better than bounce things off you? Now, we still have our opinion, and we already did that earlier today when we asked you. The question for today was, according to the current odds of CM Punk minus 300, by the way, with Floyd Mayweather coming back at about plus 230, is CM Punk is the favorite over Floyd Mayweather in a potential MMA bout? Should he be? That's the question. Dan, Tom, should he be?
Well, we had a fun number of votes. 777. Go cash your tickets there. 777 votes, and our listeners polled 52% yes, 48% no. Much closer results than yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know what side Showtime's on.
Yes.
He says no. I agree with Showtime. I'll go first. Look, CM Punk accomplished a lot in pro wrestling, and he's been immersed himself. I don't know why. I don't even know if immersed is the right word, but he has been training with Duke Rufus to have the previous fight versus Mickey Gall that didn't go his way. But apparently, he does this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He goes out there and does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what's asked of him. Does he have enough time to become a good enough of a fighter to win in the UFC? No. To beat Floyd Mayweather? Perhaps. Do I think he's going to? No, and that's why I don't think he should have been favored, especially because Floyd has the component of just being a popular world champion. You're just going to have a lot of money that comes to Floyd Mayweather. Now, CM Punk also has his following, but I think Mayweather's got a bigger following. At the same time, I just think Floyd Mayweather's been in more serious athletic combat sports competition, and I just think he still has some retention of the speed in his hands to run and land some hands on CM Punk. I also didn't like the way CM Punk, I guess, folded to a little early in his fight versus Mickey Gall. I didn't see enough fight out of him that night. Perhaps he can prove me wrong in his next fight. What do you think, Ghost?
I think at the end of the day, Floyd Mayweather, he's not a mixed martial artist, but he is a fighter. And he's done it at the highest level in his sport. He's a great boxer, which boxing is, it encompasses. It's a part of mixed martial arts. So he's got that one skill down. I don't know what CM Punk has down in his arsenal. And whatever it is, I don't know that he's the best at it. So I think it's kind of an easy call. I would go with Floyd Mayweather in this instance.
Dan?
Yeah, I was a little surprised too. When I see the line, I have to imagine that, if they're going to line, someone like CM Punk 3-1 over Floyd Mayweather, that they're looking at it from the aspect of if somebody trained grappling for a couple years, could that person hypothetically beat a top-level boxer on the ground? Well, then, yeah, definitely could. So I got to imagine that. But like Ghost said, you still got to prove that you're a fighter at the end of the day, and I don't think CM Punk's done that. So I would go with Mayweather as well.
Well, that's what the @MMA Junkie Radio team thinks. No across the board.
All right.
So, what would you make the odds, Goes? That's my next question.
I would think that maybe Floyd Mayweather minus 180, 200 around
Yeah,
there.
I was thinking 150. How about you, Dan?
Boy, that minus 200 line sounds just right for the picking. It's far enough ahead and still could encourage some action. I'd say minus 200.
Now, what about the fact that I think CM Punk is about 6'5", though, right?
No. I think 6'2". 6'2". Yeah,
All
6'2".
Right. 6'2". Floyd's about 5'6", 5'7".
5'7".
Now, Floyd only has to weigh 156.5 to have a welterweight fight. CM Punk will probably weigh 171, but Floyd won't weigh any more than that. That's what he weighs. That's what he walks around at, whereas CM Punk can rehydrate till about, let's call it 190, maybe 20 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Would that make a difference? Would just a big guy smother a smaller guy at some point and
just fall on him?
Yeah, he's
maybe.
6'2".
6'2".
I know that is a very interesting dynamic. To bring up the size. He's not going to be.
Floyd just still going to get them hands and move.
And Floyd's faced tall boxers before, but again, those were boxers. Those weren't guys that are going to be doing the ugly blanket move that CM Punk would get in. But who knows? I don't know. I'd rather see the Showtime version, because I'm picturing the Showtime version where Floyd, right before he gets in the ring, stops, looks at CM Punk and looks at his entourage and says, "Hey, Burger King guy, see what you got in there," and then see how he does, and he goes, "Bieber, all right, your turn. Go." Like it's
now, I wonder if based on that, we're all going to run and put a lot of money on Floyd. And we're kind of talking a big game here, right? We feel like it should be the other side. Are we going to back it up?
I would.
If they do fight, do you think that's what the UFC's going to do?
He's got to get within distance of Floyd, and unless he's charging in like Dan Severn or something, he's gonna have to throw some kind of strike. And in that game, Floyd Mayweather's one of the best, right? Waiting for the other guy to do something and then bah!
I will cry if they make that. If they make that, not really cry, but like, how can you defend criticism at that point that we're putting a professional wrestler in a boxer?
Wouldn't it be good though to get those
fight?
two guys out of the way versus wasting a McGregor camp and fight? And
but there's a lot on the line.
Letting McGregor waste away, because the reason we can say that, because as of right now, he hasn't been stripped. Therefore, he's the UFC light heavyweight champ. Therefore, all this is a waste of time. Now, what we're hearing is that the night of the fight, they'll make this big announcement, and Dana White has assured us that Khabib and Tony are fighting for the undisputed title. Therefore, there will be somebody that gets stripped that night, and I guess that makes for good buzz on fight week. The Irishman gets stripped. These two guys are fighting, and maybe that's why they're holding off. Maybe they need both guys to weigh in so they know they have a legitimate prize fight at 155 pounds for the undisputed title, because if one of them doesn't make weight, then now what? We strip this guy. We don't have this going on. It's a clusterfuck.
For myself, there is a lot of pride on the line in this fight. I don't even want Conor to get this fight, because I don't want my friends to say, if the mixed martial artist gets knocked out in his cage, I don't want them to sit there and say, man, your sport's been a phony this whole time. This whole time it's been boxing. I don't want to see that. To be honest, man, who would you guys pick if they gave you a shot to defend mixed martial arts against Floyd Mayweather, the greatest boxer of all time, coming in there? I wouldn't go with Conor. I'd go with someone else. Now, granted, I don't know if it's going to sell the way it would with Conor, but I think it'd still do pretty well. I would be more comfortable with maybe like a guy like a Frankie Edgar or someone like that. Someone that has some tight boxing but also has wrestling, also has jiu-jitsu. A George Masvidal, someone like that. I think I would feel safer there than I would with Conor. Conor's got a lot of bravado. I think he'll actually stand with him for a little bit, and that's a dangerous game. I need a guy that has just enough striking to stay out of trouble, but get the fight to the
What if
ground.
they had a gentleman's agreement, but Conor is gonna, he's gonna be throwing a lot of kicks?
Yeah, I mean, there's just something. I don't know that Floyd Mayweather in his camp at some point would have a guy kick him as hard as they can and feel what that feels like, because I think he would go running. I don't think he would even step in the cage if he knew what that was like.
Well, the good news is I actually wrote an article about this yesterday, guys, outlining this very thing. And if you want to split hairs, Goes raises some really good points as far as who they could pick if you go down that road. But essentially, without spoiling too much of the article, which is up now on MMAJunkie.com, why the cage is not the stage, I outline a couple of those points, including one George just brought up, being the kicks. And I would see that being something for, McGregor if that fight would happen. But it really doesn't matter, because I think a lot of the point that I essentially draw in the article is kind of what we're talking about here, is that it really wouldn't matter. It would be a one-sided drubbing. We look back at UFC 118 with Randy Couture and James Toney. Sure, you could tell by the check-in station that Tony didn't exactly take his camp too seriously. But you know what was even sadder? Is that it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. It's going to be a one-sided drubbing. Conor does not have the wrestling accolades as Couture. He does not have that style. But he is more than serviceable enough to takedowns to take Floyd Mayweather to school. I mean, his ACL blew mid-fight or whatever it was that was giving him a problem against Max Holloway, and he was able to change game plans and take him down. I don't foresee that being a problem. And the thing is, the point that I make is that, sure, even if, I thought that was a good point. You're right. If I'm picking in lesser of two evils, I think you guys are right. I would rather have a CM Punk versus a Floyd Mayweather, in the sense of it frees up our real contenders, right? Those kind of fights. I don't know if it was Ariel or somebody saying, GSP versus Nate Diaz for the same spirit. Guys who aren't entangled in a title. I'm all for that, and I agree as far as lesser of evils. But it's just a weird thing where even if these things go perfect world scenario, guys, who's really picking up the bill here? Who's picking up the bill for all these things? What happens if Conor does beat Floyd like he's supposed to? Do we really win at that point? Is it a one-sided drubbing? Do we really feel good about MMA? Now we get to say, okay, now what happens to Conor? He goes off. We have the same problem. We have carnivals and not contenders. And we don't have storylines. Instead, we have these quote-unquote super fights, which don't exactly feel the same anymore. So it's to be careful what you wish for. And then let's go into that scenario. Conor or whoever, Frankie, whoever. If Floyd is even doing it in the first place, it's for money. He clearly has no, he's a guy who respects legacy, and respects money. But this doesn't kind of fit either of those things. It's more just kind of a straight money thing if he were to go in there in the first place. So if he's in there for money, he's not going to be wanting to take a beating. Whoever's going to go in there as a mixed martial artist is going to take him to the ground, even if it's CM Punk of all people is going to take him to the ground. So what does Floyd do? Does he tap early out of pride? Does he tap early out of spite? You know how bad that would look for such an ignominious end? I love pro wrestling, and I think we should be proud of the roots that MMA does have to it, but we don't want to be compared to them in a certain way, which has kind of been the theme the last couple of years. We want to move away from that comparison, right? That would only bring us closer to those comparisons. God forbid that you feel the tinfoil hat people talking about fixing fights. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you would just feel that. So I'm not saying it's all bad, but I just think there's a lot of angles that I don't see a lot of people talk about out there, that I think we would have to bring up whenever we bring up these topics like this.
Well, I certainly don't want to see any of those matchups, but inevitably we're going to see something.
Yeah, right.
We're going to see
Do you think so?
Some combo of Floyd, McGregor, or Punk and someone else. And of all those, I'll just take Punk and someone else. Floyd stay retired. Conor come back and fight the winner of whoever's holding the title.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say the winner of these guys because this fight's set. Just whoever's holding the title at featherweight or lightweight or whatever. And if any of them want to fight again, great. And if they don't, I could care less either. I think
Do you really feel it's inevitable? It's going to happen?
Of those three, it seems like one combo.
You feel that Floyd is going to walk into that cage? It's going to happen 100%?
Against somebody?
I'm still like, I don't see where the benefit is for him.
I think he is.
All right.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You know what might hold it up is he makes so much in boxing, and I don't think he'll get paid that much in MMA. But other than that, yeah. All right, let's talk to our next guest. His name is Jared Gordon. He'll be fighting at UFC Fight Night 126. He'll be fighting Carlos Ferreira. And Jared is 14-1 overall. He is 2-0 in the UFC. He's a former champion at CFFC. He joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Jared? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Awesome, man. Thank you. Thanks for joining us here on MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with George, Goes, and Dan. We're excited about this matchup. They got you in the main event of the prelims, and usually that gets a little bit more love than some of the earlier fights on the main card. It's like they highlight it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good, pretty cool spot for me to be in. So I'm gonna take full advantage of it.
Are you surprised that at 14-1, there should be more Jared Gordon talk than there is? We were just discussing Colby Covington earlier. He's got a very similar record to you, but everyone knows who the heck he is. Then again, he's had a longer run in the UFC. Is that what it is? Just you have to be in the UFC a little bit longer for a 14 record to pop?
Yeah, I think I've only had 2 fights with the UFC. So I mean, that's not really too much exposure. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's exactly what it is.
Do you think you or the promotions you fought for could have done a better job of so that even a lot of people knew who you were even before you got to the UFC?
Hey, I guess they could have done a better job of of promoting me, but I mean, my fighting will speak for itself, and I'll get the recognition sooner than later.
No doubt, man. Like I said, that's an incredible record, honestly. I said this a long time ago, maybe like 5-7 years ago. Fighters that win at 90% are the world champions, the superstars of the sport. Fighters that win at 80% are going to have a long, long lifeline in the sport. they'll get to 20, 25 fights in the UFC or whatever, maybe win a world title, maybe not. They'll have their fair share of main events, and then there's a drop-off from then. So when I see 14-1, I'm like, shit, this guy is no joke. You know, I'm hoping this is a coming out party for you if you get past Carlos Ferreira on Sunday.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna get past him. I'm gonna blow right through him actually. So this should definitely get me some more exposure, like you said. Main featured bout on the prelim card, so I think it's gonna be a good one.
So you've already envisioned the fight, obviously, with that kind of a prediction. Tell us what you're seeing. Are you standing up and slugging it out with this guy, or are you dominating him on the ground? How do you see this fight ending?
I think it's going to be me pressuring. Well, I know it's going to be me pressuring him on the feet, and getting him to exchange with me. And it might end up on the floor, but I'd like to keep it standing for as long as I can. That's what I've been focusing on. So, but if it does end up on the floor, it should be just as exciting.
Jared Gordon, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He fights this Sunday at UFC Fight Night 126 against Carlos Ferreira. He is featured on the prelims there with Carlos Ferreira, and of course the start time there. We have some adjusted start times on Sunday. It's 7 p.m. Eastern for the prelims on FS1, and then you keep it on the same channel, and you got the main card starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Let me say it one more time. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, and 9 Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So 1 hour pushed up because it's a Sunday offering for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. All right, Goes, what do you have for Jared Gordon?
Jared, I know your background was originally in some boxing, some wrestling. Can you talk about that transition to mixed martial arts? Maybe that first practice. What was that like? And was it something that you knew right away, this is for me?
100%. I remember walking into the gym that I started out in, and I had my first jiu-jitsu practice, and I fell in love with it immediately. It was the UFC was blowing up at the time. It was 2007. The Ultimate Fighter was huge. We're getting big, and I was watching UFC nonstop. So when I started learning submissions, I truly fell in love with the sport, and I was boxing again. So 4 months later, I had my first amateur fight, and the rest is history. I just kept on it.
I know that there's been a lot of situations in your life where I think an average person would have quit. When you have tough times, whether it's in life or even in fights, what is that one thought that you can go back to that keeps you pushed and keeps motivating you?
Well, now that it seems as if I've made it past a lot of the hardships, that I will encounter. I look back at the times that I didn't have that were like really demoralizing, and it was just hell for me. And I look at all that, and it's easy for me to say, well, this isn't, whatever I'm going through now isn't as bad as that. So this is easy now, and I truly think that it shouldn't get that much harder for me. I mean, life does happen, so we'll see. But I've built a pretty good foundation, so I think that anything that does come my way, I'll be able to cope with it.
Jared Gordon, 14-1 overall, facing Carlos Ferreira on Sunday at UFC Fight Night 126. That card is headlined by Donald Cerrone versus Yancy Medeiros. Hey, what's your quick prediction for that main event, by the way? Who do you like in that? You'll be showered and ready to be a fan by the time that thing comes around.
Yeah, I'm taking Cerrone by head kick.
Nice. I like the prediction. Jared on Twitter is at JFlashGordonMMA. Let me turn it over to our fight analyst, Dan Tom. He's got a question or two for you, and then we'll let you go. Jared, thanks for the time. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey Jared,
Thank you.
staying on the topic of just adversity and whatnot, and for people that don't know your story, you have a very interesting story. There's been a lot of stories people can search out there as far as you overcoming drug addiction and other personal things in your life. But let me ask you about that, because when I was watching footage on you, I didn't know all that at first, but I was really impressed with your style from the boxing. And I believe your grandfather, has some bare knuckle or at least some boxing experience into the wrestling. And that pressure fighting approach, I love watching it, man. But tell me, how much of that has been a gear that you've always had? And is there any of that is a gear that comes from getting through what you've been through, if that makes sense?
It makes complete sense. I think, whatever I do in life, whether it's good or bad, I was an extremist. So, if I was going to shoot heroin, I was going to do it to the best of my abilities, If I was going to become a professional athlete, well, I was going to do that to the best of my ability. So, it's always go big or go home for me. I'm not going to. My biggest fear is being mediocre. So, I think I got to take it to the limits for myself.
Right on, man. Right on. And you still, I see you still training at Renzo Gracie. So does that mean you're still making the commute from Astoria?
Yeah, I train at First Street Boxing in Renzo Gracie. But yeah, I still make the commute. I take the subway every day, man, the city, and it's a grind. It's freezing cold, and I'm on the subway, but I think that's what makes me who I am. New York is a huge part of my life, so I love it there.
I like Astoria myself. I used to live in Brooklyn, and Astoria always reminded me of A Bronx Tale because that's where they shot that. But so I always got love for that. But aside from that, I guess what I'm getting at is obviously you're making a lot of sacrifices for your lifestyle and training and whatnot. But even as things progress, do you still see yourself just sticking in that area and just because of the training's so good?
Yeah, 100%. I got the best coaches in the world, and I'm dominating right now, so why would I leave? There's no reason for me to leave. Plus, I have everything else in New York, family, friends, and all my connections, and it's the greatest city on the planet, so, there's no reason for me to go anywhere else.
Right on, Jared. Well, listen, thanks for squeezing us in. I know Fight Week can be difficult for a lot of fighters, but it was really great to get to know a little bit more about you, preview this fight versus Carlos Ferreira. Good luck on Sunday, my man. Seriously, I can't wait to see this one on FS1, so appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me.
All right, we'll see you. All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. You can give Jared a follow on Twitter at JFlashGordon MMA. Let him know you heard him on the at MMA Junkie Radio show. Stay close.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
It's the Impossible Springsteen ticket, and we're giving them away to SiriusXM subscribers. SiriusXM's E Street Radio is filling all the seats for March 14th. The performance Springsteen on Broadway, where the grand prize winners will get air, hotel, and tickets to the exclusive show. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Springsteen. No additional purchase is necessary. All right. We got about 30 minutes to go here, so we can take your calls at 866-522-2846. We discussed guns earlier. Any of you Cowboys want to hit us up? And we also talked a little bit about CM Punk and Floyd Mayweather. Put a Twitter poll up earlier. The results came back. 777 of you voted. 52% agreed that Punk should be the favorite. 48% said no. Us here, us three, we said no. We didn't agree. So we're going to have to back it up with some Floyd Mayweather money if it ever happens. But
yeah.
I think we're all on record as saying we don't want it to happen, right?
I don't want it to happen, no.
You'll take it, though, over Conor versus Floyd?
No.
Oh, you do want to see Conor versus Floyd?
I would rather see Conor.
Over Floyd versus CM Punk?
For me, it's MMA versus boxing.
Yeah.
So I want the best mixed martial artist out there to fight him. I don't want a boxing guy to come into the octagon.
Well, if you want the best, it's not Conor McGregor.
Well, I know, but if you're giving me CM Punk or Conor McGregor is obviously going to beat up CM Punk. So he's better. So I would go with him. But if you're giving me the best mixed martial artist, I'm not going with Conor McGregor. But that also means
that Conor McGregor will not be fighting MMA if he's doing these little dumb fights.
I know, but if they're going to do it, they're going to do it.
I would like to, Goes just changed my mind on there as far as lesser two evils. I'm for the no, by the way, but the lesser two evils question you just posed to Goes, I was going to say CM Punk, but in that sense, you know what? I will go with that, and maybe just to kind of sprinkle further. What if they wanted to go that route? Why don't we just rehatch, Anderson Silva and Roy Jones at that point? Older names that have not to do with it. Or I'd rather see BJ Penn versus Floyd. They talked about BJ being the best boxer in MMA back in the day. Dust that off and give him something to do. He's closer in weight.
Yeah,
but it just doesn't sell. They want.
Yeah, BJ doesn't.
But you know what, guys? It's not that it doesn't sell. It just doesn't sell on that crazy level.
Yes.
If you have Floyd Mayweather in an octagon, it's gonna sell a lot. But if you get the right dance partner, it's gonna be astronomical.
Yeah.
BJ Penn versus Floyd Mayweather would sell. It would sell a lot. If you're a boxing fan, you're gonna buy that. You want to see Floyd Mayweather. You want to see your boxing dude go in there and fight. It's gonna sell well. It just wouldn't sell crazy.
I mean, Ray Mercer and Tim Sylvia too is the co-headliner.
How old is CM Punk again?
I just had it too.
39. Fucking Joe Rogan's like 50, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't mind seeing Rogan against Punk.
Gally from Toronto had brought that up, and Rogan had expressed interest in possibly fighting one, but that was like 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And he's a different guy now. He's got money now, so I don't know how much he'd have to get paid. I just don't see it. But you're right, it would be interesting.
None of these fights improve any of the divisions in mixed martial arts.
Mm-mm.
No.
That's what sucks. Malky Kawa made some points that I agreed with yesterday, some that I didn't. But he was like, well, he goes, big fights, that's what these guys are doing, so let's position ourselves to have these big fights, because gone are the days of number one versus number two or this or that. But I feel like we can get back to it. Gone may be the days, but it is pretty special when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tony and Khabib, who's not going to freak out over that? I can't wait for that fight, But I guess it's because I'm a hardcore, and the jokers that are walking up and down the strip with them three-yard margaritas, they want Conor versus Floyd.
Let me ask you something about the super fights, though, just in general, because this is kind of a barometer. I wasn't able to really work this into the article, but it's kind of a personal barometer I have when I think of super fights. I compare it to the 80s middleweight division in the early 80s, right? When you had all these the Durans, the Leonards, you had all these kind of crazy guys. It was a crazy time in boxing where essentially all the big names, all you kiddies heard about, they were essentially fighting each other at a certain point, right?
Yeah. And
that was mainly in the early 80s, I would say, is a nice focus of those names.
The Four Kings.
Right. Now let's take stuff, whether it's St. Pierre Penn or which I think, or this recent one that got announced, which I think is super legit as far as Daniel Cormier and Stipe. And you take these super fights, maybe some of the other super fights where we're like, okay, that seems like a money grab or this or that. I guess what I'm asking is, how many of those will survive the test of the time, just like the names from the early 80s, that middleweight division, that era, survive this? You know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense?
I think the closest we've came to Four Kings, in my opinion, was when you had Vanderlei Silva, Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, and then you'd need that fourth guy. Who would that fourth guy be? Maybe Quentin Rampage Jackson or someone?
As far as a direct comparison, that's pretty spot on.
Kind of they didn't all face each other, but a lot of them had common opponents.
Right.
That to me is the closest we've come to that era.
Yeah.
Can you guys think of something else?
You're right.
A good one.
That's. I don't think I can come up with a better one for a direct example. But I guess what I'm asking, as far as like just taking things like just piece by piece and being like Stipe DC, for example. Even though I think it's a good one, is that going to be one we're going to go back and look? And I think yes. But
do we need 4 or 3?
Well, yeah, 4 Kings, dude. Chuck fought all 3 of them. Okay.
Right.
Tito fought.
You didn't
fought
say
Randy,
Tito the first time.
I said Vanderlei.
Quinton.
Oh, okay. There it is. Wait, I thought I did.
No, you said Randy.
Chuck and Randy.
Yeah.
Vanderlei and Tito. That'd probably be the best one.
So Chuck fought Tito.
Fought all 3 of them.
Randy and Vanderlei. Randy fought Tito and Chuck. Didn't fight Vanderlei.
Vanderlei fought Tito. He fought Chuck. He didn't fight Randy.
Right. Okay. I was going to suggest this one. GSP, Hughes, and BJ.
Yeah.
Right? And then, but you said you need a 4th. I have one, though, but he just probably didn't reach their level, and it's our friend Frank Trigg. So Trigg fought GSP and Hughes, but he didn't fight BJ. And then BJ fought the other 2, a trilogy with Hughes and 2 times with George St. Pierre.
Trigg hurts you a little bit.
The 4 Kings, if you want to get technical, Leonard fought Hagler, Hearns, and Duran. Duran twice. Leonard, Hearns 3 times.
Hearns fought them all, right?
Yeah, I can't remember if. Oh no, Hagler did fight Duran, so they all fought each other. Okay.
The only thing about that is, at no time had anybody ever clamored for, we need to see Frank Trigg versus BJ Penn, right?
Yeah.
With the 4 Kings, at some point somebody had always said, we need to see those 2 fight. I think that's what made that group special. And I think with Tito, Chuck, Randy, I think at some point somebody said, we need to see them fight, especially with Pride and Vanderlei.
Yeah.
We want to see what happens. A lot of people didn't even know that Vanderlei fought Tito back in the UFC.
So hard to facilitate with MMA, though, because it's so...
Maybe even Vitor could be one of those guys, too.
It's just so close. I mean, you look at it, well, one of the biggest connections, all the greatest guys from money to the record books are just the greatest fighters. They're all linked, but they just missed each other, and that is Aldo, McGregor, Edgar, and Penn. Those guys all have strong links to all 4 of each other, yet 3 out of the 4 would never see each other in their primes, just because, I mean, again, just kind of how crazy the sport is, from politics to guys getting old overnight. I mean, it's a different thing. I'd have to go really transport myself back to those days in boxing to go, okay, well, now, how do their surrounding divisions, now, did boxing do something good where in the 70s, the late 70s, did they spend their time building contenders for, the Ray Leonards, the Hearns, and Haglers to get their names to where they were, for that to come and happen? It's that kind of thinking that sounds a little heady right now, but it's really apropos to what we're going through now, right? That's the whole question. Us, the brass of the UFC, was trying to figure out, what the hell's that balance? How the hell do we get the excitement level, but we still have a revolving door of events?
It's too bad Diaz didn't fight Hughes.
Oh yeah, that would have been a good one too. Yeah, Diaz,
Hughes, Penn, and GSP. Cruz is like 33, but Cruz, TJ, and Garbrandt out of 4th maybe could have some sort of a dynamic. They all seem to be, former teammates versus alpha male. You know what I mean? Former champions. There could be. But
I guess what I'm asking is, do you guys think, like, if they invested more into the building of the divisions, whether these super fights, would that be kind of in a weird way make more of these super fights happen? That we're humoring now, or is it, or do we shooting ourselves in the foot because we've been just trying to be so hungry for them with these sell years these last couple of years, Been stacking.
I like them when they make sense. I don't think we ever have to get away from them completely. I like them when they make sense. I thought DC and Stipe made sense.
Yeah.
I think TJ and DJ kind of makes sense because the way TJ phrased it before he won the title, he says, "Hey, I was supposed to fight Garbrandt. He's hurt. I'll go down to 25 so that this guy's 10th fight is really historic. You know, the other guy pushed back and said, hey, you're not a 125er. You're just coming in and stealing someone else's shine. You know, plus we don't know if you can make weight. TJ fired back and said, well, the guy you're fighting has had trouble making weight. So there was some good, compelling arguments going by. Anyway, TJ hung back. He won his world title. DJ defeated Borg. And so now TJ's going, so now what? Now I'm a world champion. Now do you want to fight? Mr. Johnson, you know, you're saying you want to make some more money. I'm your guy. I'm a champ. I'm still willing to come to you. So therefore, I'm kind of interested in that a little bit. Everything else, I'm just like, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else has really been built up.
How about Fedor, Crow Cop, Nogueira, and then maybe Coleman?
Did they all fight each other? Nogueira didn't fight Coleman.
Right.
And I don't think Crow Cop did either, did he?
Crow Cop. Whoa. The ninja over here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Crow Cop fought all of them but Coleman, right?
Yeah. It's not gonna work.
That's not that far off from what with the trig.
No, you had a better one. You had, I think, either Tito, Randy.
It's Randy, Chuck, Tito, and Vanderlei.
Vanderlei, yeah, I think those four.
But I think Vitor could have slipped in there too.
Yeah, and so could Quinton.
Yeah.
So you had something going there. I think stick with that one. I think you won.
All right.
You win, yeah. All right. One other thing I wanted to bring up. Oh man, I had it on the tip of my tongue. Oh, Malky Kawa. He also brought up another thing. And when he was talking, the interview was going for a while. We covered a lot, but I'm glad he touched on something. Just made me feel better. I'm glad he kind of put the onus on the fighters could be doing more themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
he's had that stance for a while too.
Rather than just waiting for the UFC to do it for you. But the way he broke it down was one way I've never broken it down. And he said, "Why are they going to invest in you if you have, you know, we'll use Woodley again as an example. If you have this torn labrum, and as soon as you can fight is maybe April, May, or June, what can they really do for you other than the Ultimate Fighter when they're focused on Cowboy and Medeiros, and they got Unit Scava fighting Cyborg, and they just patched that together, by the way. And then the month after that, they got Khabib versus Tony, in which they'll have to strip the most popular fighter ever from his title and deal with that madness, plus anything out there with CM Punk and Floyd. How the hell are they going to be promoting everyone else? And then another thing he said was, if you really want to participate in something, he goes, all you got to do is call the UFC and they'll fly you out.
Yeah.
But you got to come to them. Hey, I want to do more. I want to do the Q&A. Does it still exist, the Q&A?
Yeah, they've had some.
All right. If not, I'll do some signings. I'll host a pre-party.
They do a lot more of that now.
A featured fighter. Sometimes guys are in town like, what are you doing in town? I don't know. I'm a featured fighter. Well, what's that? They may take you to a Boys and Girls Club or something like that. But on the night of the fight, they pull you in and they do those scrums when they're having all of the prelims. And you get to answer some questions about your career. So Malky brought up some points. A lot of it's on you, too, to want it, you know. There's a fighter who I'll share with you guys later on, a fighter who I reached out to this week who's fighting this week, and he chose not to be on. Now, I know him well enough that I was going to tell him, are you sure? Because this is your week. You know what I mean? Like, fuck this whole thing about fighting. Trust me, when they lock the cage, your skills will be there. You know, I don't think you're going to lose the fight and then go, I shouldn't have done the interview. But I didn't say all that. I just respected it. But somebody I think could have, did something this week and stay out there, perform on Sunday, and then come back. And you know what? You do another round of interviews and just stay relevant. Because once they're past you, the next event's here, and the next event's here, and the next event's here. So it was pretty interesting. If you've seen that name, Malky Kawa, and you don't know who it is, he's one of the top managers in mixed martial arts. He's put in his dues. I'll say this. When he first came along, I mean, it was a lot to take. You know, he was like a used car salesman, you know. But he's been through so much, and he's learned a lot that you really do have to listen to him right now because he knows what the hell he's talking about, you know. And he's managed a lot of big-name fighters. He's, like I said, he's had some mistakes, but he's also done some stuff. He's been in some big negotiating tables. You know, he's the one that helped John get Nike, along with Ari Emanuel, who now owns the UFC back in the day. And so he's been through trials and tribulations. But listening to him now, you could just tell it's a very mature sports agent who now works with the NFL. I didn't mention Xavier Woods, the safety for the Cowboys. Tyron Smith, one of the best linemen out there. Reuben Foster, and he's going to have to figure some stuff out there. The All-American linebacker out of Alabama who now is starting linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. He's had his fair share of problems, but Malky does have some good NFL players as well. We got to take one more break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close, and we'll be right back.
Do what they say. Your life will be a lot better. Here are Gorgeous and Goes.
All right, we're back, and we're coming down the home stretch of another fine edition of MMA Junkie Radio. We do this show 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, live from the Racing Sportsbook here at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. So stop on by and pay us a visit if you're ever in town for business or pleasure. And I know a lot of you guys conducting business still go out there and get the pleasure, so good on you. We did not have Brian Caraway here today. He sent his apologies, and I guess we'll try and rebook him for tomorrow. He just flat out forgot. So there you have it. And that happens. We're humans. We forget. No excuses, just I forgot. So that's that.
All right.
Yeah. And Jared Gordon was our guest today. Thank you to him for his time. He fights Carlos Ferreira at UFC Fight Night 126 on Sunday night. Tomorrow will be our last show of the week. I'll see if we can come up with a parlay here between the three of us and have a little bit of fun with it. Goes, Dan, and I have yet to go up there and hit one. Now, granted, give us a pass. We are always going up there with underdogs only. We want to make sure our $15, $5 each, pays us something in the neighborhood of $200. Otherwise, what's the point? But we'll see if we can rally one up for you. Of course, Dan will have his final piece of the week, which is the parlays and fights to avoid, fights that he's warm to. So be on the lookout for that. His breakdowns have already come out throughout the week, not only for UFC Fight Night 126, but also Bellator 194, which, from what I'm hearing, our main event is a go. Matt Mitrione and Roy Nelson both made weight. They're both big boys, but I don't think any of us feared that they wouldn't make weight. However, one young lady has not made weight. It is Heather Hardy. She came in at 126.25. Oh, to miss by 0.25.
Wow.
And I don't know if she's going to have to give up a portion of her purse to Anna Hulaton. We'll see. It looks like everyone else, including the Patricky Pitbull, Tawan Claxton, everyone else on the main card is good to go. Quick note, though, Nelson was 265, and Mitrione was 255. I don't remember Nelson being pushing the envelope guy. Has he been?
Early in his career, he was, right? That kind of up there, but then he came down a lot and stayed there for a long time.
It was both. It was both. He was earlier in his career. He was, and then he had that thing like after UFC 137 where he like almost faked us, where he was like hiding how he looked at the weigh-ins. Like, oh, he's looking more buffer. Maybe he's finally going down to 205, and he could cut his hair after the weigh-in. But those antics kind of have passed, and I'm pulling up on Tapology is usually pretty good about listing the weights, but Roy's actually, I believe he actually has come in a little heavier since then. I don't know if he just kind of abandoned that aspect of it, you know what I'm saying? But he has come in heavier, but I don't know if it's a bad thing because, again, I look at these guys probably closer than I should. And Roy looked in really good shape.
He was 252 at 137.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Point
Yeah.
2.5, guys?
Yeah, that was low for him, and he was 265 his last 263 against Antonio Silva, 258 or 263 against Derek Lewis, 258 against Antonio Silva, 262 against Volkov, against Javier Ayala. He came in at 262, so he's usually right around there. And even in that 262 against Javier Ayala, the most recent one, Roy still looks like, you know, when he's going for his takedown, see all the muscles in his back, like the dude.
His calves.
He's,
man.
yeah,
Holy
I mean,
shit. I don't like to talk much about what I've seen at Extreme Couture, but I'll tell you this much: he's always there.
Mhm.
He's always on time, and he's always pushing a good, hard practice.
Yeah.
So I can give you that much. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And that's why I thought I saw that. I was like, wow, okay, you know. But I mean, he is over 40 years old.
Yeah.
And it could feel like, well, the fucking guy's like, Mitrione's like 6'4", right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably thinking that's a big cat too. I gotta make sure as much girth, you know, is coming his way as he's getting back.
Yeah.
0.25. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that like maybe just cutting your hair?
Probably is.
I mean, for him, maybe you stepped onto the scale with some clothes on. Maybe that's where the 265.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you never know these guys.
She was willing to cut her hair.
Remember all those affliction weigh-ins? You never got a real weigh-in because it was like a jean sale when the guys were weighing in. Remember, like, and it was like, oh, look at.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Looking like the Moondog
she'll have to
reference.
give up something to Anna
Moondog
Hulaton.
Spot, Moondog Rex.
I'm sure she's not going to have a problem with it. But anyway, all right. So we are going to get on out of here. Thank you to Jared Gordon for his time, and will we book Caraway for another time? Did he get back to you, by the way, Caraway?
He hasn't said anything since
He hasn't
that.
said anything. All right, so we'll see what we can do about having him tomorrow. But otherwise, we'll still have a full show tomorrow, including our show panel parlay, our private parlays, our final predictions for Bellator 194 and UFC Fight Night 126. You know, a little bit I'd like to ask here is that daily debate video that you saw yesterday and the one you'll see today. If you like it, please share it. We pitched something to our editor the other day, and then he liked it, and so you know, we're hoping we could do more of them because we really enjoy doing it, and I think they're going to be very relevant discussions, Twitter poll questions that you all can participate in, and maybe we can see how much of us are on the same wavelength in this crazy sport of mixed martial arts. But for now, we're out. So for Danny and Dan and Goes, I'm George. We are done with today's show. We'll see you tomorrow with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. Until then, go out there and be a champion.